What is up, everyone? Hope you're doing well. Happy Thursday night rundown. Thank you all for being here. As Cajun Corey says, yeah, are you sick? You're streaming when the sun's out for me. Yeah, it's a little earlier than I normally do, but as you could see, I have a very, very special guest. Very good friend of mine. Pops, how you doing, sir?
I'm very blessed, bro. And I do appreciate the slide it up a little bit time just because of scheduling stuff I have going on. And for those of you who don't know, when you work in healthcare, you work at 4 a.m, you are trying to adjust schedule and balance a lot of craziness and create content. So very nice of you and kind of you to continue to adjust the schedule a little bit. So but let's do this, man. Let's hang out and have some fun.
Absolutely. Yeah, it worked out for me. Like I said, it actually fanned out. Normally I do it later just because sometimes it's hit or miss, man. Sometimes I have like 15 people on if I do later. Sometimes I have 3 people watching. So whatever, it is what it is. But I'm glad you all are here. Pops, I'm glad you're here. Let me say hey to a couple people that are in a chat. Mark, I know you're over the on the other side of the pond, my friends. Probably too late for you, so I hope you're doing well. The fact, and it too, he does mention might be asleep by the time you start this, but we'll be listening on a catch up tomorrow. Saw Aliens at the cinema last night with my son. Wow, what a superb film. It is not aged at all. Amazing. Absolutely. That movie is fantastic. One of my favorites. And we actually will be talking about Aliens a little bit later in the stream. Just an article that popped up. I thought it was going to be interesting. So, but hail to you, my friend, supporter of the channel for a very long time. Hope you're doing well. And then we also have Night Ronin. Hope you're doing well. As he asked, yeah, Jets or Giants fan. I'm pretty much done with football. Pops, I don't know if you watch football or care about it. I don't really watch it as much as I used to, but if I have a team that I grew up rooting for, it was always the Giants, just because I'm from New York, and it was either you're a Jets fan or a Giants fan. I was a Giants. My brother and everyone else was a Jets, and you have that inter-house rivalry as always. So, but
no, just follow what's going on, but don't give it a minute of my eyeball time, if that's a fair way to explain it. Like, I know exactly what's going on. I'm up to date on the whole, Jets move, Aaron Rodgers things, going to the big city, which is probably the incredible move for his legacy, is to get that much press round the clock. So it's a massive move for that. So, but no, I don't. I'm a Florida guy. Been in Tampa for so long. It was fun having the Brady run while we had it. I'll take it. Let's move on to something else. Have some fun. My son is a Jacksonville fan, so up and down with that. But yeah, so we have a little bit of finger on the sports ball. We like to make fun of the sports ball. Yeah,
I did root for Jacksonville for a little bit when Tom Coughlin went there. I know he's still, I think, involved in the kind of upper management. He's one of my favorite coaches the Giants had. So, it's all connected. But yeah, same way. I try to pay attention to what's going on, but I haven't watched a game in a long time. And I think I watched a little bit of the Super Bowl, maybe I think the very ending, but I didn't really care about it. Oh no, Soul Assassin, boo. No, they're a good team, especially back in the 90s. But yeah, so Scott Davis, a lot of you guys are piling in now. Hope you're doing well. Bobby, my friend, sports is becoming a little too political nowadays. Yeah, I agree with you. And that's everywhere too. Even it's starting to creep up into hockey, unfortunately, But yeah, we got a lot of good topics to talk about. One of them, everyone's favorite, Star Wars, as always, because we can't ever not talk about Star Wars. I feel like it's just one of those things. But we do have a good topic there. We also have some news, some DC stuff. The early reviews of The Flash are coming in. Apparently, it's supposed to be the best superhero movie ever. I don't know, Pops. What do you? I can already see you shaking your head.
I didn't even know there was a Flash movie. I thought there was another Batman movie. So I'm confused by the footage that I've watched. But listen, I get confused easily. I'm old. I hear Michael Keaton talking, and I see Michael Keaton, and now I hear about a Flash movie. So I'm just very confused about what's actually happening in front of me.
Yeah, and I 100% agree with you on that.
Sorry, guys.
It's definitely. It's interesting for sure. I did see some reviews. They're not all everyone out. Not everyone's praised them. So we'll see. And like I said, I think there's an embargo right now, so they can't go into crazy detail. But just the openings. Got some other DC news I want to talk about later, and then just some other kind of. I know. Oh, for you Indy fans, looks like Steven Spielberg mentioned a little bit of info about Indy 5 from what he saw. So we'll talk about that and kind of we'll get Pops's opinion on what he thinks that's going to turn out to. I could probably guess because we haven't talked about it yet, Pops, but I can already assume probably what you think Indy 5 due to everything coming on. But we'll talk about that when we get there. But so this first topic, well, like I said, we will start with Star Wars as always. We'll knock that out of the park. Get that kind of out of our way. And I wanted to bring up this article because I thought it was very important, especially, I don't know why this is playing, but I thought this was interesting. We've seen before where Tamora, I think that's how you say his name, Tamora Morrison, isn't really happy with Lucasfilm and how they've done things. And he's spoken out, I think, at a recent Comic-Con or something of that nature. He was in an interview. And an actor claims that he was supposed to return in The Mandalorian, but nobody rang. Now, as a warning, I did not see anything with Mandalorian 3. I think I saw, well, that's not true. You guys know I did a review on episode 1, and I was like, I'm done. And I think I watched up to maybe episode 3. And then I was completely checked out, and I was like, no way. Now, Pops did the unbearable for all of us, and he watched it all and reviewed it. So,
oh yeah. In-depth, excruciating details, some extensive streams at times, was invited on other people's show. So, yes, living up to the brand of I'll watch it so you don't have to, suffering. A lot of breaking down. Use it as my gateway drug to hopefully reach a normie or two, wake people up to how bad some of this stuff is, that kind of thing. So, yeah, very happy about being relieved from my community service and getting out there to try to find something good to watch.
Yeah. So based on now, since you've seen it, and and I don't know if you've known of this information or heard of these recent comments, would it have made sense to have him show up at all? Do you think?
Well, you know what?
Considering how the show turned out.
It's funny you say that because I thought to myself, seeing the story, I thought to myself, you know what? When they go to the Epcot Center planet and Lizzo and Jack Black are holding court, they're playing Queen of Hearts, they're playing ball with this little lizard looking beetle looking thing, and Christopher Lloyd is revealed to really be the bad guy with his finger over the staple button. I thought to myself, you know what though? The betrayal could have been really good if Boba Fett had just shown up without his helmet on right now with Ming Wan in tow. What a twist that would have been. It would have just been the buzz of Twitter for at least 5 seconds. This guy, the sad thing is people like him are actually believing anything that Disney says to him. And good on him for at least talking to the press and not giving a darn if he'll ever get hired again. Because at this point, what does he care? I mean, he's got to know they don't care about these characters. They don't. He spoke out before about Boba Fett and how bad it was being handled.
Yes.
So the bridge has been burned, dude. It's like you don't actually think they're going to call you. Yeah. So he'll easily be replaced by someone that doesn't take the helmet off, kind of like the way they're replacing Pedro Pascal and turn Pedro into a voice actor. So yeah.
Well, yeah, and not to go too off the topic of this too, but with what's going on with AI and the advancement of AI and everything, I could eventually see these people getting replaced by that. They're under like some type of contract, or they'll change their contract where you can just literally have AI sound like them, look like them, and you won't even really need the actor anymore. So
yeah,
it's kind of crazy.
I was going to say, I actually joked about that there's so much exposition and weird dialogue with how it's handled. And it's kind of cardboardy with how people don't actually talk like that. I wondered if Favreau had assistants like fill in gaps using AI stuff. Because if you read this aloud, you would be like, humans don't talk like this. Like it really was like that weird at times. And I want it to be noted, Knight Ronan, I see you there. Take one for the team. Matt can vouch. I've taken more like a dozen for the team. Listen,
not only just Book of Boba, but Obi-Wan,
long
the show,
list, baby.
Book of Boba, Mandalorian. Yeah, but I will say this: I checked out, man. I can't go through the pain anymore. I just can't with some shows. Star Wars especially, it's just like I don't know, guys. I'll talk about it, articles like this and everything, but to sit through, to wake up, sit down and watch this, I mean, it's so bad. Like I said, Obi-Wan, at least for me, and Book of Boba Fett was laughably funny. Like I enjoyed laughing at those. That was hilarious. The Mandalorian, when I saw going on, just kind of, I don't even know why, because I don't even care that much about the Mandalorian. It just made me angry. I was just like, they're not even trying anymore, you know?
Well, it got to the point where I really wasn't doing the morning reviews anymore. A lot of the reviews were done and came out like on Friday and stuff. You know what I mean? Like I just like, okay, yeah, we'll just move on with that. But I got to be honest, Matt, I was making the case like this is their money machine. You
Yeah.
know, it's their own creation. It was the bright spot in Book of Boba Fett. It was dumb to have Grogu come back. I get it. But it's like, this is the one. Favreau was going to take control. His name was on all of the scripts, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you thought, all right, you know that Bo-Katan is going to be the direction they're going to go. Woman, I got it. I understood. But episode 2 into 3, and once you got into the stupidity of the Mandalorians and you had the alligator and the turkey dragons and sit around the campfire and I have nicknames for everything. If those of you are not familiar with my content, it's usually easier for my brain to just come up with some association for things rather than learn about characters I don't really care about, right? So the guy that dies, spoiler alert, his name I think is Paz. I could care less. He's Fat Dad Mando and he dies and I didn't care because I didn't care. And it's like they don't make me care, so I just get through it, have some fun with what I can do. And you know, I've never met how you say his name, Tamora Morrison.
Mm-hmm.
But I've only heard positive things about him in the sense of he seems like a cool dude. I just think he's duped into thinking that Disney Marvel's remotely going to care because they are not.
Yeah, and I will and real quick before I move on, Andrew, hello from the UK, man. Hey, thanks for stopping by. Someone else across the pond, appreciate it. First time I've seen you in the chat, so welcome. And yeah, good for here for a good show. But yeah, and I agree. I've seen Tamora Morrison. I reported this before. He's been very open, I think, about kind of his displeasure for how the character has been treated because he does care about the character. You're right. We really haven't seen like what's his name who plays Obi-Wan speak out in a really poor way or anyone else. I think, and honestly, I think they're just there for the check, right? I think Tamora Morrison legitimately loves and appreciates his character and is upset of how it's being mishandled. So just kind of get into the quote real quick. And it was during a Comic-Con. It was in Melbourne, Australia, which I don't know if that's where he's from or somewhere in that area, but it says during
New
an appearance.
Zealand, I think.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
During an appearance at the Supernova Comic-Con, per MSN, the actor admitted, quote, "I was supposed to be in The Mandalorian season 3, but nobody rang me. Yeah, I was waiting for the phone call in New Zealand, waiting and wanting to give up." He continues on here and says, well, that Mando guy stole a few chapters of my book from Book of Boba Fett. It was painful watching him turn up with some black new lethal sword. And the way he turned up in my Book of Boba, he just destroyed everybody. I'm sure this guy is ruining my show, but I couldn't say anything. I'm not the writer, so I have to bear it, I guess. I mean, that's pretty telling. I mean, what do you think of that?
It makes me laugh because he really doesn't know anything about his own show because he's referring to it as like the black new lethal sword. And
Yeah.
it's like he's just disturbed. Like, dude, they do read throughs, right? I mean, I don't want to be the jerk here, but like, I mean, are you drinking or sleeping? I mean, you don't have dialogue. I mean, we talked about how there's whole episodes where Boba Fett was not in his own show. Like, we mocked the show for how bad it was. And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I think it's fine the guy's speaking out because you read between the lines and you realize it's just another person that's kind of pointing to how ridiculous all of it is. But in the grand scheme of it, it's exactly what I know. Again, this is part of the reason I review it is not because I think it's going to change or I think that things will get better or you know, I don't give them any of my money. There are ways to get all this stuff and not have to pay a nickel, and that's
Absolutely.
how I live. And that's not going to change. I don't care when Guardians comes out, still no money from me. Sorry. It can be a great movie and they're not getting money from me though. So with stuff like this, it's just more like confirmation bias of what we already know. So
yeah, and Bobby brings up a good point too. I don't know if you had ever seen that clip, Pops, but the girl who played Leia, I think it was during Star Wars Celebration, was talking about during the Obi-Wan show about how it was ridiculous to have her smuggled out from under the coat. Like even this 10-year-old or 9-year, however old she is, little girl understands that that was ridiculous, and how would that work? Like the fact that a child understands that it was that stupid, that's pretty telling to me. And she was just laughing at it, like, well, that's the dumbest thing ever, like, so it's like, hey kid, maybe you want to keep your mouth shut because you won't get rehired. But yeah, I thought that was pretty funny. But yeah, I just, like I said, I mean, I think it's just telling the way he's like, my book of Boba, right? Like he took this stuff very, very personal, and the fact that, again, they don't listen, they don't care, and there is a lot of, in my opinion, people that, and I mean fans that, they keep blaming everything on Kathleen Kennedy, and I agree, a lot of the problem does stem from her, but I'm not on that camp where it's just all one person's fault and Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau are free from any type of, sin whatsoever. Like, they are complicit in all this stuff. This is not some, like some people have said, this massive civil war and rift and all that. I think, again, there might be some creative differences there, but at the end of the day, I think personally they're all on the same page for the most part. Now, I did hear there is some type of rumor going on. I think it was Jon Favreau, right? They had a big falling out. He might not be coming back for season 4. I don't know, but I think a lot of those things. Remember the early report that I did about Tamora Morrison, where he spoke out about taking his helmet off so much during Book of Boba. He complained about it. He said he shouldn't be doing that. He said when Jon Favreau wasn't on set, he tried to call John and have that conversation to say, hey, is there any way? And John's like, just do what you're supposed to do. Like, John was like, nope, you're going to do this. This is what we said. So obviously, right. Like, I just consider him as complicit, but what do you take of all that part of this equation?
Well, you hit a lot of things. So let me go
Mhm.
through. The first thing I do think about Tamora Morrison and the way he speaks of my book of Boba Fett or whatever is, remember, overseas, a lot of these celebrities look at entertainment differently than we do. They don't look at it as the machinery and the corporatism and the money as much as they do the celebrity status of it all. So the fact that it was his character and he's starring in, he thought he would be really elevated into the limelight and whatever, and it just turned into a kind of a bust. So I think that's part of what is in a little bit of the way his words are there for that reason. I think Dave Filoni is by far probably the most influential element in
Mhm.
all of this because of the way everything is pointing towards Ahsoka becoming the new lead character in this new version of Heir of the Empire, which is this OT sequel. Basically, the sequel to the OT was Heir of the Empire, and everything is pointing to this rewriting of all of that for this new version, and that's all Dave Filoni stuff. Favreau's name is on all of those scripts. They can use him as a fall guy. They can get him in and out of his contracts, whatever those things are. And I got to be honest, Matt, I don't spend a moment of mental time trying to decipher who's to blame because I
Yeah.
just consider it all part of the same machinery. We could eliminate one of them. There'll be two more just like it. David Mamet, he's a famous writer and creator. I don't know if anybody knows who David Mamet is, but he has a great interview he did one time. He talks about how horrible it is to be in these writing rooms that are full of a bunch of Karens and guys with nerdy glasses named Jason looking at you like you have no idea what you're talking about. And I'm like, yep, that pretty much describes what I've seen. So that is the crux of everything, goes back to the scripts, and then we can deal with all the other problems of poor effects and all the other stuff that goes with it. But complete mess. It has to burn down. As someone said, it needs to just be dismantled. Yeah, I'm with you guys. So
I agree. And I think too, a lot of this, this actually takes me to the next part of this conversation with Star Wars, and this may tie into a lot of it too, is which a lot of you I think will enjoy. Well, the people that are not fans of Disney, current day Disney, that Star Wars may suffer cutbacks on Disney Plus reveals actors. So it's same basic conversation talking about just because of the financial problems that they're currently in, that obviously these shows that are already, I feel like, doing terrible and not doing well are going to be affected by obviously what's going on financially, right? It's
mhm.
it is what it is. So he just kind of goes into, and I think maybe that ties into why he didn't come back. But here's the exact quote. So
We got an ad going. All right.
probably just scratch my channel for that. But no, it says, I think there's a few changes going on. We also come under the big umbrella known as Disney now. So it's one of the last few conversations we had in LA. The conversation started like, oh, look, we're having a few changes. We're having a few cutbacks. And when you hear that on the other end of the line, it's no good trying to negotiate any more money. That's for sure. So we'll see what happens. So I don't know if that means, obviously, I think a lot of things are in play there, but I don't know. This may affect him coming back at all in the future. I mean, more than what they maybe initially intended. Pops. All right, now you're insane, my friend. I love you for gifting 5 members. You are
Yeah.
a
Let's
madman.
do it. Let's do it.
You are
Let's
a
light 'em up.
madman.
Click that box, people. Click your box. You got. I think there's still 2 more. Click your little box. Make sure you accept your gifts. Let's get this Common Idiot channel going, man. We got to get everybody plugged in.
You are a
let's scale
madman,
this up, man.
Pops.
I am.
I
I'll do it.
appreciate that more than ever. For all of you now that are new members, we do member streams on Sunday mornings, so I'll have that out in the community tab. So keep that in mind. But Pops, thank you, my friend. I greatly appreciate that. You threw me off now. You threw me off.
I purposely did it that way. Yes,
you did. And listen, for that, I gotta play. What? Man, I got to play a good I got to play a good video for this. Do you want to see Ryan Johnson destroying Star Wars or the Undertaker just taking care of Disney? You pick.
Oh, we have to do Undertaker. Undertaker
Okay.
all the way. Yeah, Undertaker.
All right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pops, this is for you, my friend. Thank you for supporting the channel.
But he's in trouble. Payback. Oh, God, man.
Undertaker is the boss right there. That's some good stuff right there. So,
absolutely, yeah. I couldn't pick a perfect little video to knock out a couple of the people. Like, just come on, knock some sense in them, make some good stuff. It's not that hard. It's not that hard. But
rock those emojis, folks. Get your emojis in there to see it going. Let's see. You got Leo laugh. You got your O face. You got your thumbs up. You got triggered. I love triggered. We gotta do more. We gotta have more triggered.
Justin, what's up, my friend? He brings up a very good thing. Said, "What's up, boys? The pod you did on Pop's channel was top tier. Great stuff." Yeah, if you don't follow Pops, you're crazy. His information's in the description. Subscribe to Pops. But we did a great conversation about getting into YouTube, and we always have good conversations, but it was a lot of fun. So I would go check that out. It was a great convo, just kind of my coming of age story, I guess, and how I got into YouTube and kind of the steps that I took to get to where I'm at now. And yeah, so I would definitely check that out. It was a great video. So.
And I'll track that link down so you can catch Matt letting somebody pick his brain, which is really the moral of that story. And Justin, hit me up on Twitter, man. Let's do you. Let's go. Let's talk. Let's hang out, man. Have a good time.
That would be a great video, honestly, because Justin has a hell of a story. I will tell you that. So absolutely. So yeah, so getting into this, like I said, the cuts and everything, I mean, where do you see, because probably more about the financial side of things, way more than I do.
Sure.
Where do you see things going with this?
For Disney or for the box office? What are we talking about here?
More Disney, specific. Star Wars, just we'll stay this directly to Star Wars. Like, how do you see this affecting things going forward with Star Wars in general?
It's all of this is really hard to get your head around, guys, because it's hard to imagine a company that has lost so much market share. Like, they peaked and now we're back down to almost like pandemic levels. We're like half of where it got to, because it got to about just under $200 a share, and now we're back under $100 a share. And they are not making profit necessarily on a lot of these big movies that they're doing, things like that, but they will turn a profit because they make so much money on merch and their theme parks. And those prices are insane. Like here in Florida, if people try to tell you that Floridians are on the side of Disney in this whole political battle, you're completely being misled as a Floridian. I'm telling you right now that at least some Floridians, I don't think all, but as word continues to get out there that these people have not been literally, quote, not paying their fair share, meaning they're not contributing to the I-4 construction. They're not having to deal with building permits and things like that. They're not being held to the same standard as like SeaWorld and Universal. The tide has changed dramatically for this company. Now, they can endure a lot of this, Matt. We were talking about, they're shedding customers left and right, each show, each movie. But at the end of the day, if they can still make a profit, they're all getting paid along the way. So you have to understand all these bottom line numbers means Iger's going to get this, 20x bonus and these, all these different moments and things are happening. So it's still way too early to start putting death nails in Disney. But the numbers each quarter, it's just like bleeding out negative numbers. And I don't know yet when we get to a point where some of those IOUs are being called in. I don't think we've gotten there yet. So sadly, I thought it would be sooner than this, but I still think we've got a lot more road to. This is why we still have Agatha. I got a video coming. We still got Agatha coming, Echo coming. The Marvels, of course, looks like just
that's going to be
absolute dumpster fire. I mean, I could not believe it. Which, by the way, remind me, I have a link to help you remove the music from the trailer, so it reduces your copyright risk.
Okay. Yeah, I've noticed Disney's copyright stuff. They don't really go after you that bad, from what I've seen.
Oh, the music will though. Yeah, the music. Will get you.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. It's not it's not Disney per se. So they play Beastie Boys, so you can't play more than you couldn't play more than like 5 seconds, or you'd get a little claim you have to deal with. So if you, there's a thing. So yeah, if any of you guys want that, let me know. I'll give you the link, hook you up on that. There's the tools. What is it? What does Winston say in Ghostbusters? We have the tools
and we have the talent. Absolutely. Yeah, we have watched that movie way too many times, but hey,
we need a shirt with just the two of us on that and just says we have the tools, we have the talent. That would be the best.
That's going to be a new video. That's going to be absolutely a new video for the channel. Little snippet there, but
it's for me and you, baby. Just for me and you, Pops and Matt, just rocking that.
Yeah, and while we're on the Disney side of things, it's Soul Assassin says too, and I've seen this where they're saying right now Guardians isn't tracking to do well. Now, I'm not a big box office numbers guy. Like, I don't follow them, too heavily. I know probably Pops, more about this way more than I do. But from what I've heard, and I honestly haven't really heard that much hype about this movie, just kind of like rumblings and whatnot. Like, I see more hype about The Flash of all movies than I do of hear anything about Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which is kind of shocking to me. But what are your thoughts on Guardians and what it's going to do? Or what'd you call it? Zootopia 2?
It is Zootopia. It is the Guardians of Zootopia is how I feel when I saw the footage. It was the most disappointing footage that I'd ever seen. I thought this is my trap. I people think I'm so negative and I'm screaming at the clouds, and I understand, but I started off optimistic, man. You're my witness. I went into Guardians open-minded, and I saw the trailer and I was devastated. Like, what the heck are you doing? This is your cash cow. Everyone wants Guardians to be a hit, and you did this Zootopian nonsense. Adam Warlock looks like absolute garbage cosplay. It's terrible looking. I don't know why this is not the buzz of the town right now. They should be dropping major news to supplant the Flash trending. They should drop something, right? Yeah. The biggest issue for Guardians, and I know what people may say about the numbers, the biggest issue is that for some reason, Fast and the Furious didn't move up. They stayed behind them. So Guardians really only has 2 big weekends before they go up against Fast and the Furious. And no matter how bad Fast and the Furious is, it will make big numbers.
Yep.
And it's massive overseas. So Guardians will probably still eke out a solid box office. And you're going to hear all the number crunching and people going, oh, it doesn't make money. Again, I'm not trying to read too much into a lot of that kind of stuff. I know they're not really making much money on all this, but I also know, okay, I don't want to get too conspiratorial, but I almost feel like it's like laundering of money.
You could do it.
How could we be spending this much money on doing some of these things? It's like you and I, like, we recycle clips and stuff like this. They're doing things that are so recycled and generic. There's no way it's costing as much. But Yeah, I don't have high hopes on any. And I have to be honest, the bigger buzz right now is like people don't care about going to the movies. I
Mhm.
think that is probably a more legit thing right now than it being about one film or another. I don't have people going, "Hey, did you go see or I saw or whatever?" I told you before, I forget when it was. I didn't have people asking me about stuff. And that was like a first time for Marvel. People just checked out and not doing it.
The
And now that's
only
happening with Star Wars. Yeah.
Yeah, the only movie that I know of recent that's kinda had a lot of buzz about it, where people were talking about it, that I think and they were waiting for those initial reviews to come out, like, "Oh, maybe I'll get," is the Mario Brothers. Like, that's
Yeah,
the
Mario
most
Brothers
recent
is
one.
the only thing that's blown up. Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Everything else is just kind of fall like, and but I felt that way too about Avatar, and apparently Avatar did really freaking well, so I don't know, man.
I got nothing. I have no explanation. I was on the fence of like I cannot. There's no way this movie's going to make that kind of money, and it sure did.
Yeah,
But
it's obviously it's kind of wild to me, but speaking of the Flash, and while we're on that topic, we will bring up this. I think this is pretty interesting, and I don't know if this is going to land, but it says here they have the first reviews coming out of the Flash. They're saying it's one of the best superhero films of all time. Oh boy. Pops, what do you, I mean, I know we kind of touched on it a little bit at the beginning, but I mean, you saw the same trailer that I did. Did you see the newest one that came out?
that's what I'm talking about because I was trying to show someone at work and they pulled one up. I'm like, that's not the right trailer. It's only Batman at the beginning. Batman's talking. It's only Batman, and then yeah. Okay. Again, we live in this place where everything is hyperbolic. Everything is these emotional things. Best superhero movie of all time is absurd. Like
Mm.
it's absurd on so many levels that this could be that good. Um, I'm open minded enough to give it its fair shake and let us, give you a fair analysis. But if you think I'm going to believe these big mainstream Rotten Tomato critics that are basically bought and paid for their credentials, because I got to be honest, I try to apply again or whatever. I just don't ever follow through with it because it's like if I have that many subscribers and whatever these resume items they want now, I don't need Rotten Tomatoes. Like I don't need you. Like if I have that much going on in my life, I don't need you. So yeah, no, I think it's great. Let them all call it the best thing ever because it's their reputation on the line, not mine.
So here's somebody that has actually seen it. Is it going to make me open up? It says, well, I'll read this real quick. Scott Menzel, I don't know who that is. I guess some type of reviewer, but it says here, The Flash is hands down one of the best superhero films of all time. No joke. The Flash is the ultimate movie-going experience as it has a little bit of everything: action, emotion, heart, humor, plenty of nostalgia. Ezra Miller is phenomenal as dual Barry Allens. We'll talk about that in a second. Michael Keaton and Sasha Calle, I think so how you say it, are very good also. This is a film that audiences will be watching over and over again. Oh, and avoid all the spoilers you can for this movie because there are some really incredible surprises that will truly blow you away. I cannot wait to see this again. I mean, the last trailer that I just saw kind of gave a lot of the movie away. I mean, the first trailer did. If you know the story and you know Flashpoint, which I do, you kind of already know what's going to happen for the
Yep.
most part. But the second trailer just released way more. I feel like I kind of already know too much or more than I want to. But yeah, let me zoom this in so people might be able to see this better. I don't know. I don't really agree with this. And that's really, I don't know. So here's another one real quick. It says, The Flash is massively entertaining, extraordinarily funny, but still has solid emotional takes. It's one of the better multiverse movies out there. Tons of fun surprises, a genuinely superb superhero movie, one of the best in a long time, very, very satisfying. I mean,
Mm.
again, I think this would have been a way better movie if we had Henry Cavill involved. And I'm not just saying this because of Henry Cavill, but if and I want to know your take on this because this is kind of, they're saying, wrapping up the Snyderverse, right? How do you not have him in here, right?
Well, I got to be honest. If we know the original story, actually, Cavill being in this movie would not have made a lot of sense. They really would have had some sort of like soy boy Superman that
Yeah,
was trapped by the government, and that was, they basically just gender swapped him for this Supergirl knockoff that we have.
Well, unless they
this
made
just has.
Cavill look like he's 10 pounds wet, but
I don't think I want to see that either. I'll be honest. I mean, I don't know. There's nothing left of what they have to make this like feel like Flashpoint. Because let's face it, you and I've talked about it, I think, a little bit, and it was like, well, the only thing in Flashpoint to me that really has the legacy that I really want to spend some time on is the fact that they did that dark, Bruce Wayne, Thomas Wayne, right?
yes.
So we're
Oh,
not doing.
how awesome would that be?
So, folks, if you guys look up, this is not the actual Flashpoint miniseries. This is the little spinoff part. So it's the Batman spinoff from Flashpoint, dealing with Thomas Wayne, who's the Batman in that timeline. So that's the comic book. It's only 3 issues, and in that timeline, Bruce is the one who dies, not the parents. So Thomas Wayne takes on the mantle of Batman, and he is a dark vigilante murderer. And I don't want to spoil what happens to Martha. And if you've never read those, it'll change how you look at all of this completely different. And you wonder, why are they trying to make this movie? Because they have no desire to do any of that. So,
yeah. So again, I don't know. I can't say that I believe any of this. I don't think this is going to be the best superhero movie in the world. Let's see. If you want to, how much do you think they actually kill off Batman? What do you think? What do you think the odds?
I think Keaton's Batman dies. I would say it's probably like 70%. There
Yeah.
was talk though that he was going to be in something else, so that's the only reason I'm hesitant to not go like 100%.
Well, I thought that
wasn't
was the
there-
canceled Batgirl movie, or yeah.
maybe, but I thought there was even something else that he was going to be part of, like I don't know. But I think that him dying is going to be part of it. And again, though, that actually can be part of the story. That actually can work and be part of the story. But I just don't have faith that any of this is kind of worth watching. I don't know.
No. So here's another one. It says DC's The Flash is tremendous. Forget DC. It is without a doubt among the best superhero films ever made. Jeez. An all-timer, inventive storytelling, fantastic action sequences, great cast, so many nerdy details. I'm in tears at the end. Everything you want from a superhero film and more. So yeah, that's pretty bold. Pretty bold statement. Now, the one thing I found really interesting, where is the article? Here you go. I did find this interesting. This is part of the Zack Snyder stuff where Michael Shannon wanted Zack Snyder's blessing to play General Zod. I thought that was interesting, and I think it just, the reason it's not a major headline, but I thought it was important just because it shows you how much these actors, even Ben Affleck, right? Because if you guys remember when James Gunn announced, the new slate of things, they were talking about where James Gunn himself said they're in talks with Ben Affleck coming in directing a Batman movie. And Ben Affleck was like, no offense to James, I want nothing to do with it. Right. So James Gunn has openly lied about a couple things, but it does show you how much respect a lot of these actors like Ben Affleck and all of them have for Zack Snyder. Now, again, if you know how the Snyderverse was going to end and happen, I can say I don't agree with it. Pops, are you aware of what he kind of had laid out? How this was going to end with like Lois Lane and all that?
Oh, it's terrible. It's horrible. Like this whole nightmare that Bruce Wayne is having of what this future looks like, where they, have killed Lois and it's made Superman crazy. And this is what I've said. I am not a fan of what Snyder did. I'm not a fan of Man of Steel, and that it's like he killed Zod and it was dumb. And all they had to do was do some sort of Phantom Zone reference and go back to the OG type stuff. And there's so many people who are just so obsessed over this because they wanted something darker and edgier, and it has spiraled into this weird cultish phenomenon. And no offense to Michael Shannon, what do you care, dude? What do you care about this guy? He's completely irrelevant to everything going on. Like, I wouldn't give 2 bones about what Zack Snyder thinks about anything.
Well, and go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I just don't think it's like you're freaking Michael Shannon. You got a whole resume of stuff to build on. Don't worry about him.
Well, and the only thing I think why he cared, and let me see. Here's the quote here. He says, quote, "I was hesitant because I wasn't really happy about what happened to Zack Snyder in that whole deal, meaning with Warner Brothers. So it says Shannon tells playlist in reference to the whole Joss Whedon replacing Snyder on the movie, kind of how he got backdoored with the death of his daughter and all that. So he says, I really love Zack. The fact that Zack asked me to play that part to begin with, that's probably the biggest surprise in my career. It almost felt like a practical joke. I was like, you're kidding me, right? And then he obviously went to Zack Snyder, and Zack Snyder gave his blessing to, to do it and do the movie. So just kind of a little bit of an in-depth of this version of Zod. He goes, it's just really different. These kind of multiverse situations. The story is a lot more all over the place, See, that scares me hearing that. And I feel like I mainly exist in the Flash as like an obstacle or a problem. Whereas in Man of Steel, it was more of a story. Like the Flash is definitely about the Flash as it should be. So it's not as in depth. I don't know. Like, how do you take that? What do you think of that?
I think this is all lining up exactly what I expect. A whole lot of chaos,
Yep.
a whole lot of crap thrown against the wall. It's not going to be cohesive. It's going to be about these people have given us zero evidence that they can write a time travel movie. There's not a writer other than like Taylor Sheridan, who's writing Yellowstone, who I feel comfortable could write a time travel movie right now and be remotely cohesive. So, yeah, just a complete debacle of a mess is what I expect. And yeah, I'm ready for it, man. I got to be honest. I'm ready for all of the summer of shenanigans, and I'm hoping that something good is in there somewhere. Like, I'm hoping like Sisu is good. I'm hoping like these random movies that we're not spending much time on is the one that's good, because I just don't have faith in all this.
Yep. And Soul Assassin 2, if you're not aware, the way this was supposed to play out with Lois is my understanding, because I read those storyboards that Zach kind of leaked out and all that when all that Warner Brothers stuff was going on, and that whole revive the Snyderverse stuff, the hashtag or whatever. Apparently, Batman was going to knock up Lois, and then she was going to have Batman's kid, and Ben Affleck's Batman sacrifices himself, he dies, and then freaking Superman and Lois raise like a Bruce Jr. Like it sounds really terrible. And I read that and I was like, ooh, maybe I'm glad this didn't happen. But yeah, not that good. Now, here's a tweet that I want to show that it's kind of involved in all this, and it's kind of interesting. I know Pops, you retweeted about this, and I don't know if this is true. I thought this was interesting. Pops, you can give your 2 cents about this, but it says here that I don't know where this information came from this guy. I don't know what proof there is. So I guess, grain of salt kind of situation here. Henry Cavill filmed the scenes in hashtag The Flash, setting up Man of Steel 2 in The Flash with Brainiac arriving to Earth. Zack Snyder was set to produce it. James Gunn ordered all the footage of Snyder's Superman and other scenes that were to be shot with JL to be removed. Now, how do you feel about that, if that's the case?
I think it is pretty much what the plan sounds. It keeps aligning to the same plan that we heard of why he came back and he did the Black Adam scene and kind of the direction they were going. I also think that once they decided to go in a different direction, that Peter Safran and James Gunn come up with this theory and this plan with how they're going to spin the PR, and that James Gunn will be the villain and then try to play passive aggressive about how he loves Henry Cavill. And I just think it's all about finances. I think they just didn't want to keep Cavill. They want to do some of their stuff. They have egos. They want to have control of their own thing, and the Snyderverse is not part of it. So I retweeted this and tweeted at James Gunn because I like trolling James Gunn. You never know. You never know what will happen. I don't have respect for these people, as I've told you. I'd rather just stir up trouble with them than I would try to treat them like they actually are worth the salt they think they are. I just don't buy it.
It's hard to respect them at all, right? Because honestly, a lot of them, they will outright lie about things. We've seen it time and time again. They don't care. They don't care about us. They just care about their own vision. They don't care about fans, right? James Gunn's going to do what he wants to do. He doesn't, even if the mass majority wants X, he's going to do what he wants to do. And that's the end of the story. I don't know if you saw where he had announced recently on the update of the superhero movie or the Superman movie, where it's not going to have as as much comedy in it, which is a good thing, I think. But again, I don't really trust him to do any of this stuff. I think, you know, the only thing that I've looked forward to at all that I think might turn out decent, and I'm still skeptical, is Swamp Thing. Other than that, everything else to me just sounds like absolute garbage.
Well, I'm okay with Creature Commandos. It's
That's
basically
the animated one, right?
it's basically Suicide Squad with like Universal monsters.
That's
and
right.
but they have said that the cast that they'd use, they want to have crossover with live action. So I got to be honest, if people like Creature Commandos, there's a good chance maybe we'll get a live action version of something, which I'm kind of down with, because that might actually be interesting. And that's kind of like down James Gunn's lane, whereas Superman is not. But he's had all these tweets. I did a video on it about his dad and loving Superman and legacy and all this. I don't know what to think. I don't know. So
yeah, I don't know. I'm not looking forward to it. You know, The Flash, again, I'll probably see it, do a review on it. I think it's going to be extremely volatile when it comes out, like with fans and what. I think you're going to have some, like, especially with the Snyder lunatics, right, that are completely all there. It's going to be like a civil war on the internet when this movie comes out. You're going to have people that are going to stand for this new Flash movie and what's going on. And it's interesting too, because I did see one reviewer talk about how Ezra Miller made some mistakes. And when I saw that comment, I'm like, mistakes? You know, to me, a mistake is like not forgetting to take out the trash, not pick up a bar stool, throw it across the room, hit a woman in the face. That's not a mistake. You know, choke slamming a woman, that's not a mistake. That's horrible. Right?
I have to be honest. I'm going to go with the hot take and go, I really don't care about all the Ezra Miller drama, because they're all a bunch of crazy people. He's just so young and dumb that he's done all of this and just he's gone on this like binge of chaos. He hasn't had people around him to just wrangle him in.
Mm-hmm.
I think they have so much money flowing around all of this. That's why he's even still being involved, and why the Mira actress is going to be involved with the next film we're going to talk about, and that kind of stuff. They just got too much money tied up in all this. They can only write off so much. So when this is all said and done, then we'll kind of figure out what happens to this dude. He needs to be in some sort of therapy or mental health program, in my opinion, but that's only based on what I've seen. They know how to navigate through charges of what he's actually done or not done versus what's been rumor mill or trumped up charges or things like that. You mentioned Jonathan Majors, like, there is an innocent till proven guilty stuff. And I'm kind of down that rabbit hole. And I also am like, I'm not going to be a hypocrite and try to hate on Ezra Miller's and Jonathan Majors and then be honest that I love Sean Connery.
Yeah.
I'm just not going to just pretend that I have this sort of like moral high ground whenever I love some of these guys that really were not great people in real life. What do you want me to say? I'm not going to lie. So yeah, I just don't let myself get down that rabbit hole too much. Mrs. Pops is more in that lane where she hates way more of them and not interested in seeing some of them more than I am.
Yeah, I don't really like to know the personality of them because, like I said, at the end of the day, I think 99% of these people are pretty just garbage. I think, in my opinion, like, you don't like the saying goes, right? Don't meet your heroes. You don't really want to know these people. The interesting thing with the whole Jonathan Majors, and then we have like this next one where Ezra Miller and Miss Turd here, they're just treated differently. The whole situation is different. And I feel like with Marvel tying, because Jonathan Majors was supposed to be a major character in the Marvel universe going forward, right? Weren't they building pretty much everything around Kang? My understanding is so.
Yeah,
the
but
rumor says.
They did this with James Gunn, right? The rumors came out. They had the innuendos. He was into some weird, crazy stuff.
Yes.
And then they cut him loose.
Mm-hmm.
He goes over to DC for a minute, and they just bring him right back. So I have to be honest with Disney. They know people have the attention span of a gnat, and they will just not worry about it. And Jonathan Majors needs to go off, deal with his case, deal with whatever the issues are, some of this stuff, and then it'll figure itself out. They just got to get themselves through Loki season 2. So whatever damage control they have to do to get through the next piece of their puzzle. Whereas WBD, they got themselves backed into a corner because they have 2 or 3 of these problems that all bubbled up at the same time. And that's what got them into so much trouble. It's like it's not, they weren't dealing with one fire, they were dealing with multiple fires. But the hypocrisy of them treating differently, that's normal. Look at how they treat Chris Pratt. He hasn't done anything.
Yeah, I know. He just lives.
He likes a church who believes things that these people don't think you should like. That's literally the extent of his guilt. It's like it's like 3 degrees of Kevin Bacon's religion.
Yeah.
This is like insane. This is like stupid on a different level. Like, what are you talking about? So yeah.
And Gap After Dark brings up a good point, and that's what I kind of wanted to ask you too. What your thoughts are? Because didn't you just do a review? I thought I saw it pop up the other day. I haven't had a chance to watch it. Shazam 2. You watched it, right?
Oh yeah, it was bad. It's
yeah,
terrible.
So all right. So that's
terrible.
We have Shazam 2. We have this coming out soon, the second Aquaman movie. What's bombing worse? Is this going to do worse than Shazam 2?
Oh, I don't think anything. I don't know that anything could do as bad as Shazam. Shazam is like legendary bad because I think the final numbers are going to be so low because it didn't give itself any wiggle room, and Mario came out. Yeah. So Mario sucked the life out of everything. It's only made 133 million worldwide.
Now, I know Aquaman 2, the test screenings were so terrible. People are walking out of them. At least Shazam 2, the test screenings, they said did fairly well. But I imagine that we're already hearing how horrible this is. I don't know. And especially the whole turd
comparison is Black Adam is at 393 worldwide.
Wow.
So 1/3. Yeah, Shazam. That's the thing too. I have to look at the schedule around Aquaman to kind of give you a better feel, and I'm not going to spend my time doing that right now.
Yeah.
There's no buzz for Aquaman. The true fans like us know that none of this stuff matters because now we're in Gunverse.
Exactly.
The ladies don't feel like they're going to get to see Jason Momoa be toxic, right? They're not going to get to see him running around without his shirt on, being manly, doing all the things that they want to see Jason Momoa do. Then you add on the Mira role in the film, that she's in it at least some, let alone a fair amount based on who you talk to.
Yep.
And then just the fact that it's Aquaman. Like, is there buzz about Aquaman? Like, no offense, they didn't do Aquaman right. Like, it's still not right. He's like Surfer Dude. He's not Aquaman.
Yeah, he's Surfer, bro.
Yeah. So I got to be honest, and I know this is, again, hot take. I'm cheering for Blue Beetle, man. I'm cheering for the little bug that could. Let's go for the 90s kid, the kid from Cobra Kai. It's a fun movie or something. I know they got their silly little Batman fascist line in there, but maybe.
I think Blue Beetle is the only movie coming out that had any buzz whatsoever. That trailer came out and everybody loved it. Now, granted, that trailer literally was like a mixed match of every other superhero movie ever made. You have things from like Iron Man, you have all kinds of other scenes. It's like they stole from even Spider-Man movies, right? Like they stole from everything. But I think that's the only movie that DC has put out so far that has any type of buzz around it. Everything else, nothing. I have no hype whatsoever. And Aquaman is set to be coming out around, this says December 20th. I'm sorry, but I don't think a December release is going to be helping this movie at all either.
No, actually, it probably is going to hurt it because it's probably going to be up against other stuff that you don't want to be up against during Christmas. So I would have to, again, I'm trying to get the release schedule. What kind of other things are going to come out when to know better perspective. You know how I am. I'm kind of a nerd when it comes to this kind of thing.
That's funny. Yeah. So again, I have no hope for this movie.
Is Ghostbusters Afterlife still going to happen that fast?
Yeah. Well, they're saying that's a December release. Ghostbusters.
Yeah, because if it's going up against Ghostbusters Afterlife, it's dead. And then if Rebel Moon actually comes out around that same time, while I am not a big fan of the Zack Snyder, as I previously said, I think there's enough buzz about Rebel Moon that will finish off Aquaman. Like between Willy Wonka is also coming out, the Wonka movie.
Oh, that's right. I know with Charlemagne or whatever his name is.
Yeah, Timothy Chalamet. Yeah, sure.
When does Dune Part 2 come out? Is that
it's probably November. It's probably the month before.
Okay.
I don't have it pulled up. I'm trying to get to the pull down to change my list here to see.
Yeah, and
Gosh,
that
pop-ups and ads are terrible right
I
now.
know
Yeah.
they're trying to make revenue, and that's
Early November is Dune.
okay, because that's no one wants to go up against that. I think that'll do pretty well.
But this is still showing like the Hunger Games thing is still in the works. I haven't heard a single thing about that.
Oh yeah, I have no idea. I know they're talked
Yeah.
about it, but no clue.
Well, the Marvels, we got the Marvels, so everybody's doomed if the Marvels is coming out.
When is that coming out? What does it say?
This in November as well.
Oh, that's
November
gonna
as well.
bomb. That is going to be terrible.
I can't wait. I talk about a movie that I want to EFAP. Oh my gosh, I'm ready to take a day off from work and EFAP that baby.
We can rip that movie apart all day, man. I'll
Oh my
definitely jump on
gosh.
board about that.
So if you guys don't know the story, I did a Black Panther Wakanda Forever, and we were on for like 4 hours talking
my
Wakanda
God.
Forever, and they took the stream down. I had to fight for like 2 months over scenes that there was no audio in, that we're talking over, and that was paused and jump cut, and they were just copyright flagging just because they did not want my take on Wakanda out there. I hate to be conspiratorial, but there was no other explanation. Matt knows, I know these rules, I know how to play the game, and they went after me hardcore.
Yeah, if anything, if I need copyright questions, Pop's the person to go to, because I'm like, that's why I kind of get scared about it, because you never know.
He doesn't want to bother with it. I'm actually always poking the dragon a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, Pops has got the sword out ready to fight them all.
Yep.
And it's the temporary, I guess, title for the Ghostbusters movies. Ghostbusters Firehouse is what they're calling it right now, and it's not an official name. They did say this. I know I am a little concerned, because they did say all the original Ghostbusters are going to be back again. I'm concerned about that. And then Walter Peck, the guy who played him, is going to be reprising his role. So
that makes sense. So here's our theory. Can we do fan fiction?
Let's do it.
So when we left, the Ecto-1 goes into the firehouse and Winston's there.
Yep.
I don't know why we would have the kids back, though, is the problem. I don't know why we're going to have kids in New York when they're out west. That's the hardest part for me, is I can't get that plot hole resolved. But the idea that there's still ghosts and stuff, or there's something that happens because of the firehouse, that makes sense.
Well, remember at the very
the storage unit was right. It exploded and created chaos. Walter Peck being, tied to some sort of weird thing. Or I could see that. We could make that work.
You saw the end credit scenes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So spoiler alert for anyone. So if you haven't watched it, spoiler, sorry. But the Ecto, or not the Ecto, but the unit, the ghost trap unit in the basement started blinking red. Remember? Mm-hmm. That was one of so it's got to be something with that, where maybe there were still ghosts in there, and it something explodes and they let out a bunch of previously caught ghosts. I don't know. But they're gonna. I really hope to God they don't even touch Vigo. I hope we don't even talk about anything Ghostbusters 2. Dear God, please. I hate Ghostbusters 2. I am not a fan. I'm not a fan of Ghostbusters 2. I really, if they really want to make cool stories, man, pull from the real Ghostbusters. Do like the Sandman or something. Do something like that, or the Boogeyman, whatever the case. But I don't know. The Force Ghost Egon.
I just want to know. I just want to understand if we're going to go back to New York and we're going to have the kids involved. That I want Oscar to be a Ghostbuster. So if we're going to do it, let's do it right.
Oscar would be a really good idea. That would be genius to have him come back. But we will see.
Well, I will take that as a backhanded way of you calling me genius. So thank you, sir.
Speaking of another movie coming out, and I think that's going to be a horrible, horrible movie, possibly a flop. Indiana Jones 5. Possibly a flop. I don't know. Aren't they saying this is the most expensive Lucasfilm movie ever?
I don't even know who to trust on some of the financials. I just let the dust fall where it is. They've already been caught like spending money on one movie but applying it to a different movie, and because it's under like visual effects houses, so they can do that. And I don't know what they do.
You mean
here's what
laundering?
I know. Yeah, it looked like dog crap to me. The CGI just looked freaking terrible. The de-aging looks terrible. And again, do you think any of these people are capable of writing time travel? Because I don't.
No, absolutely not.
But we can trust Steven Spielberg, can't we?
Yeah, and real quick, getting back to the Ghostbusters thing, Corey says Oscar being Ghostbusters would be cool, but I feel Afterlife ignores the second movie. Yeah, they do kind of ignore the second one. I know. I think other people brought this up too with Jason Reitman, and he said like they don't technically ignore it, but they like I guess in the what's it called in the like in the world, the reality of Ghostbusters, they still acknowledge it exists, but yes, Afterlife, I think definitely 100% kind of skips over it. I hated. I don't even.
Oscar seems like an easy thing if we're going to go back to New York and put it in the firehouse, because Oscar could have always been obsessed with Peter being a surrogate father and whatever, and being admiring the ghost stuff and whatever. So he secretly like stole a pack, and he's got traps, and he's got all this stuff and whatever, and then maybe the kids come back. I don't know. We have to figure out how to get the kids back in New York is my biggest hurdle with this sequel.
And it depends
but
on
the rest of it,
how much time has passed, right?
Yeah, I don't know. What are we doing? Yeah.
If they do like a year later, that's not going to work because this girl was like, how old was she? 12?
Middle school, right?
Yeah,
middle
something
school,
like
I
that.
assume.
So she can't be a 14-year-old working in New. I mean, no, that's not even possible. So who knows? We'll see. But getting back to Indiana Jones 5 stuff, yeah, Steven Spielberg is shocked by how great Indiana Jones 5 is.
I'm shocked too.
Yeah, I am very shocked. Says he is proud of Mangold's work. Now, like I said, I've made this time before or said this before, even though was it James Mangold? Yeah, James Mangold. He's done some good movies. Ford versus Ferrari, epic.
Yes, great movie.
Very good. Logan, I enjoyed. I enjoyed for the most part. A couple things I didn't care for.
Doesn't hold up as well as you think it does, but I'm with you. I'm with you.
So, everyone's saying him being tied to this, but again, we know how Disney and Lucasfilm do, right? I don't think directors really get to do what they creatively want to do. They have like, here, this is what you're going to do this, and that's it, right? He's not going to...
Hold on. We have to give him credit for The Wolverine because, let's face it.
That's right.
It's a movie.
Yeah, it's a movie. It's a movie. I mean,
It's a movie.
It's a movie.
Some people like 310 to Yuma. I'm like, the original's better.
The original's definitely better. It's an okay movie.
Mangold's fine. Mangold is serviceable. I don't know how to feel about it. I don't have any faith in all of this because they've clearly lied to us. Spielberg's not going to be honest. He actually couldn't even be an unbiased opinion on how woke it is or how there's going to be this gender swap stuff with this goddaughter. Phoebe Waller, what's her name? Phoebe something?
Phoebe Waller
Bridge something? What's her
freaking
name? Phoebe Waller Bridge. Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know. Again, I'm the same way with you. I think this is going to be a horrible, like kind of dagger in Lucasfilm because I don't think it's going to do as well as they anticipate. I don't think it's going to do really well. But it says here, they're talking about the film and kind of all the rewrites, because we do know there was a lot of rewrites. I don't know if you know, apparently, what was his name? Who did the score? Do you remember?
Williams.
Yep. He kind of slipped up in an interview and said that they kind of had to rescore the ending because they changed the ending around a couple times. So, but in this article, Harrison Ford said that some of the script changes they did was about removing jokes about Indy's age. So it says, in Dial of Destiny, there were a lot of jokes in the script. We took them all out, Ford said. There is a moment where he observes himself in the situation and says, what the F am I doing in here? But I hate when I call talking about the story. I want to see circumstances in which the audience gets a chance to experience the story, not to be led through the nose with highlights pointed out to them. I'd rather create behavior that is the joke of the age rather than talk about it. And that is the biggest issue that I have with a lot of the Marvel movies today. It's like they treat the audience, which maybe they have some justification for, but they treat the audience like they are absolute dummies, like so stupid they can't get the joke. You have to spell it out for them, right? I cannot stand that in a movie where they have to spell things out for them, where they're kind of like, all right, you'll get the joke as long as you're paying attention, right? So I don't know. I guess that's minor. The de-aging thing I had a problem with. I think the trailer looks horrible. Yeah, you hear the music and you get a little riled up and excited about, but I just think it's just not
See,
very
I
good.
like the opening sequence in Crystal Skull when he swings on the whip and he's getting too old, so he misses his launch and crashes. And I'm like, okay, I get that element of doing the joke of his age. I don't want to see old Indiana Jones just being a decrepit version of my president in Indiana Jones cosplay. That's not what I want. So, uh, I am, yeah, I had a horror story sitting through Crystal Skull, so I am not looking forward to this experience like at all.
I did think of something that I want to do soon. Pops, if you're interested in this, let me know. But for a member stream, I've been wanting to do kind of like a watch party, and I want to do a movie where we kind of rip it apart, just kind of like a roast,
Yes,
kind of.
Mystery Science Theater, baby, Mystery Science Theater.
It basically, right? So I was
Yes.
thinking there's one movie called Fall, which is, if you look it up, it's about like these one YouTuber girl, and then they climb like this radio tower and get stuck.
Oh, the the Radio Tower movie. I heard all about it. Never
It's
seen it though.
it's bad. It's bad. And that would be funny, but I think one that
It
we
made
have to
money.
do.
It made a lot of money. Holy crap!
It made money. They're doing a sequel, but it's
It made
terrible.
$21 million on a $3 million budget.
Oh yeah, and it's a
Good
bad
on them.
movie. It's a
Jeffrey
bad.
Dean Morgan is in it.
Yep, he makes a
Oh
very
my
small
gosh!
appearance. But it's a pretty bad movie. But one movie that we should do prior to this would be obviously Indy 4. Sit through Indy
I don't
4.
know that I can do that, man. Oh.
Oh, come on.
Bro, listen. So here's a story, and I guess I haven't told Matt the story. Here's a story, guys, on Indy 4. I am a massive Indy nerd. I actually need to dust it off. I have an Indiana Jones Last Crusade DVD display. I may be the only one that has one of these things. So I got it at like a Kmart or something. I'm a massive Indiana Jones guy, and Mrs. Pops goes with me opening day. We're sitting there, and of course, whenever we have the nuclear bomb and the refrigerator, I'm groaning, I'm twitching, I'm just totally having a horrible time. And of course, it's an alien storyline. I'm like, this is dumb. She hears me talking under my breath, so she's shushing me. At the end of this movie, when the spaceship goes X-Files, right?
Oh
And
yeah.
she grabs my arm and squeezes my arm and says, "We're not leaving now. Like, you got me into
Yeah.
this mess. We're not leaving now."
Yep.
So I don't know that I could do it, but I would be more than happy to try, especially if I'm allowed to just completely mock it to death, because there's
Oh,
no way this movie deserves to have any. We need to strike Indiana Jones from the title and just call it something else, because it's terrible.
yeah, absolutely. If we watch that movie, it would be no holds bars, no, like, we're tearing it apart. Like, that's the whole point, laughing at it, just trashing it completely. You never know. After Indy 5, that may be a classic at that point. You never know, depending on how bad. But just to kind of follow up with what exactly Spielberg said, he said, quote, "When the lights came up, I just turned to the group and said, 'Damn, I thought I was the only one who knew how to make one of these things.' Originally planning to direct Indy 5, Spielberg stepped back from the role in February 2020. He remains attached to the project as a producer alongside Lucasfilm president and longtime franchise producer Kathleen Kennedy and her producing partner Frank Marshall, who is also a longtime producer of the series." So, doesn't that make you feel better about this movie?
Not at all. Not at all. Not at all. I don't think that Steven could even remotely be unbiased enough to judge a film, because he made Fablemans, and Fablemans is for Spielberg, by Spielberg, so Spielberg's fans tell him, or his friends tell him, how great he is. So it's not like he's really in tune with knowing what he's doing like he used to. Just saying. Just my own personal professional opinion.
I also think too that he Kathleen Kennedy has a lot of stuff on people, in my opinion. This is just
Oh,
conspiracy
come on.
rabbit
She
hole
was on
stuff.
set with these people for like 20 something years. And I guarantee her butts gotten grabbed and other stuff
Oh
was set
yeah.
in front of her. She's got dirt on everybody. There's no other explanation.
She's had to get a lot of people coffee. She's had to do a lot of those things.
Yeah,
So I
there's some
think,
stuff happening.
yeah. So I think that's why, anyone sit there saying, "Oh, she's out." First off, we've always talked about this, right? Even if she left tomorrow, there's 15 more Kathleen Kennedys right behind her. It doesn't matter,
Well,
right?
you've heard the stuff that Dave Filoni says. So it's not like you have any faith. How could anyone honestly have faith that it's going to go in a different direction with the comments and stuff that he has said?
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's just as bad because remember, he's going to go with the flow of anybody, right? Because he wants to, he's all about, and I know we're getting off track and talking about Star Wars, but that's just part of it.
Well, it's Lucasfilm. It's a whole
yeah.
unit because he would have some sort of influence. Like, would it shock you if they said Indiana Jones 6 by Dave Filoni? He'll be doing this as his follow up after he finishes his Star Wars. I wouldn't be surprised by that one bit.
I don't know. I don't know if I could see him even care. I think the only reason why he's tied to Star Wars is because he's so obsessed with that Ahsoka character. He's literally obsessed with it.
These are crazy people, Matt. These are crazy
true.
people.
He can make a different type of Ahsoka and put her in there.
They have hats, and this guy likes his hats, so he'll think he can do a great show because of that or something. Who knows?
Do you think it's cheesy when he when you saw him in The Mandalorian? When you saw all
I didn't even catch it in the first part. I just kind of like, when it was pointed out to me. But that's how I feel about most of Mandalorian after, some of that kind of stuff, the self-inserting stuff. Now it's become like Love Boat with cameos and appearances and stuff. That's how I feel about all of that.
Yeah. I didn't even think about that, dear. I haven't seen Love Boat in a long time.
Yeah, we've been watching Tubi. We've been down the rabbit hole of like cheesy comedy, cheesy retro stuff on Tubi because there's commercials, but it's all free. So we watch soap and watching animated shows. So He-Man's on there, the Littles are on there, all this stuff for the
G.I. Joe.
Yeah, it's all on there. And yeah, we were watching. We've watched Carol Burnett. We've watched Love Boat. Yeah, all this. Yeah, it's just cheesy, cheeky, silly stuff that can just be on. We can just have a giggle. And I had to be honest, some of Love Boat has some serious storylines, man. I was watching one of them, I'm like, holy cow, this is kind of deep. What's happening here?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy how poorly everything has fallen off when it comes to writing and everything else. Yes. Speaking of a beloved franchise, and we kind of mentioned this earlier in the channel or in the stream, Mark brought it up from across the pond. Alien, because it was recently National or International Alien Day or whatever. And this article came up, and I thought this was pretty interesting. Sigourney Weaver, which I think we kind of knew all this, says she is officially done playing Ellen Ripley in the Alien universe. That ship has sailed. Now, I don't know how many of you are, there's probably a lot of massive Alien fans out there, but at one time, and I believe it was before Hulu was bought out by Disney and all that, they were going to be making another Alien film. It was like Alien, what would that be? Officially Alien 5? Because we did.
Oh, yeah. They're working on all this. This has already happened. I did a video on this.
Well, I mean,
there's an Alien film coming. And there's a TV show coming.
Yes, but I mean the scratched one prior to Disney taking over. There was
right. That's the one that she was attached to. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. And it was supposed to be, I don't know if exactly
they were name. The guy that was going to do it. It's like when I hear the name, I'll know exactly who he is.
Neil Blomkamp?
Yes, that's the guy. Yep. That's the guy.
So this is what she quoted. It says, there are all kinds of young actors taking this kind of role, and there was an Alien film that I really wanted to do with Neil Blomkamp, and we didn't get to do we didn't get to do that, but that ship has sailed. I'm very happy what I'm doing. I put in my time and space. Now, I heard a little bit about that movie, and the premise of that movie was supposed to be really interesting. And I may be incorrect, but I thought that
I think you are, and I'm pretty sure Neil Blomkamp went on Joe Rogan, and there's a segment of him talking about it. So those of you who don't know much about him, he is a very interesting sci-fi creator. He did District 9, Chappie, Elysium.
Love those.
They're not necessarily these greatest of movies, but they're all very interesting and they're dynamic. He does them kind of with unique. it's interesting to see how he spends his money. So he's not blowing out like $200 million films or anything like that either. So he was hired to do this Alien film, and I'm pretty sure it was on Rogan. He spoke about it pretty extensively, and I have to admit, I was kind of interested to see what would happen. And yeah, I think that happened right before the merger, the big buyout. So yeah,
because from the premise that I heard, and I saw some like not storyboards, but like some draft images and whatnot, like, with how they take like the little, I guess, storyboards, like pictures and whatnot. It looked really interesting bringing her back in. And again, I loved like Elysium, Chappie, District 9. I've always wanted a sequel to District 9. I don't know if we'll ever get it. I think they're stupid. I think they should. Will it be as good as District 9? Probably not. But I would love to see a sequel to that. I thought Elysium was really great. But yeah, seeing this, I'm kind of glad that they are putting a cap on it and not touching the whole Ripley legacy anymore. I think they did enough damage with some of the other movies that have come out. Like, I think Prometheus was a really wasted opportunity to get into, the prequel stuff and the space jockeys, but I don't know. Are you even looking forward to anything upcoming Alien? The show looks terrible.
No, because it's all Disney Hulu stuff. Everything about what I have heard and read, what I've reported on, is just total crazy, cringeworthy stuff. It's like working in like modern politics and dropping Trump's name and neo-feminism
Equity
themes and stuff.
about
and social equity, anti-corporatism. It's like all the stuff in an alien movie. So if you guys don't know, which you probably wouldn't, so I'll have to pull it up while we're chatting. I was on with Wakazashi's Tea House this morning, and he pulled up an Alien comic book, and I said, well, I have not seen that. Let's react to this. So we did, and there are no aliens in the Alien comic book. You'll literally see us going through in real time, because we both did a live reaction to this book of us. Like, I don't understand. There's like a whole page where there's nothing but like space and like satellite dishes, and there's a whole page where there's like holes in the ground. I'm like, I wish I was making up that there's not humans in this book and there's not aliens in I mean, it was so weird. And I'm like, these are the people making our stuff. You know what I mean? So this is why I'm down this rabbit hole where I'm like, anything that's involved with this company deserves to be dissected and mocked. And if they do something good or decent, then we let them know. Like the Guardians holiday special was fine. It wasn't the best thing ever, but it wasn't terrible. And I think that we can say those two things can coexist. So yeah, them doing Alien, they're incapable of doing Aliens. Let's be honest. What needs to do with Alien is they need to have like a Hellraiser approach. It needs to be so off the chain insane with like an Earth War storyline or something like that. So
yeah, and Gap After Dark says Alien 3 was really good to me if you really look at it as an overall movie. I know the movie gets trashed a lot. I honestly don't hate Alien 3. I thought it was a decent film. It doesn't hold up like 1 and 2, but I enjoyed it, and I think it's way better than Resurrection.
Yeah, Alien 3 has a lot of problems, but I will say I have a lot of pieces there that I like. I think the cast, there's some great cast members in that movie, and there's some great performances in that movie. Yeah, Resurrection's a freaking dog crap.
Yeah, and if you want to see that conversation that Pops talked about earlier about the Alien comic, here's the link. If you're not subscribed to Pops, I don't know what you're doing. Go subscribe. Obviously, Pops is a great channel. You guys, you talk about a lot more stuff, especially comics, all kinds. But shockingly, not too long ago, I found Alien 3 comic part 1, 2, and 3 at the store, like for like total of $5 for all 3 of them. I was like, it's not, and they're in pretty good shape. So I love the old Dark Horse comics. Those are so much fun. Cajun Corey. Yep. Cajun Corey for $4.99 super chat. Heading out, Matt. See you later. See you, Pops. I can't read. Heading out. See you, Matt and Pops. Good stream tonight. Well, thank you, my friend. Thank you for the super chat. As always, I greatly appreciate it. And let's do another Star Wars one because it's always funny and I love it. So let's do Rian Johnson's video. But thanks again, Corey, my friend. Hope you're doing well, and I do appreciate it.
Story that had no end. I give.
Sorry.
That's what I love that. What a great movie. Oh man, that's such a good movie. But yeah, so I just thought it was interesting to see that. Like I said, I'm not looking forward to anything alien. It's everything from the past is way better. Everything today sucks, and that's kind of where we're at.
See, also,
Unfortunately,
let me disagree a little bit. We have to keep looking. We got to pull the layers back and find those little
yes,
nuggets. So like Yellowstone is fine. I don't think it's as great as some people say it is. I think first season of Mayor of Kingstown is great.
I've
Second
heard.
season is okay. I
I've
think
heard
Tulsa
it's.
King is good.
Yep.
I think that there are some movies and things that kind of fall through the cracks and that are okay. I also think that there are a lot of good comics that are being done through Image and independent stuff and not with the main two. That's pretty much my take on that. For those of you who want to go over to the channel and see some of that, that's a very Cliff Notes version of some of my takes on things where I try to offer some recommendations and I give you the honest take. Like, I'm trying to think of it. Green Arrow, there's a new Green Arrow comic book I have a review for tomorrow. I don't hate it. Is it okay to not hate it and say it's okay? Let's see how it goes. I don't like this design. I don't like this. I don't like that, but it's okay so far. Let's see where it goes. Do I have faith? No. Would I pay $5? Oh, heck no.
Yeah.
I can go buy the whole set of, like you said, an Aliens miniseries for $5. Go
Yep.
find a reader cop. Go find a graphic novel of something that's got all sorts of dinged up folds on it. Go read that. Yeah.
Now, yeah. So if you're not subscribed, like I said, here is Pop's channel. It's obviously in the description as well for anyone who's watching this on like the rewatch or whatever. So please check that out. Pops, you just did a couple videos today. You've been putting out way more videos than me, but I know you just did a video on.
I pre-record like a beast. You're kind of lazy when it comes to pre-recording.
I know I am. I really
do.
am.
I pre-record like these little 5, 10, 15-minute clips, like bam, bam, bam. So yeah.
I know you got some info on the Street Fighter film that's coming out. You just did a conversation about Risky Business, right? You revisit. That's a good movie, man. I haven't seen that in a long time.
Oh yeah. So 40th anniversary. So this is a little bit of the like behind the curtain a little bit. Like, so for me, I have a list of like a lot of these anniversary type things. I don't believe that there's a way to like win the algorithm game or whatever, but I do think that you can try to find ways to reach people who wouldn't normally find me. And I think one of that is to look for people who will hear, oh, it's a 4th anniversary Risky Business, or I've never heard of Risky Business or something like that. And they'll look for a video or review or something like that. And I find that with some of my old videos, which by the way, Matt, I have a ton of traffic that was happening to my Guardians of the Galaxy videos from like, I don't know, when I got to interview Michael Rooker and I'm like, what is all this getting videos? I'm like, oh wait, yeah, Guardians comes out like in like 12 days. Holy cow. Yep. I didn't realize it was already that close. So it does make sense. It doesn't always click in my old brain. But for Throwback Thursday, I try to find old movies or old topics to kind of, make sure people get a good refresher course for that reason. And, anniversary stuff. And let's face it, before Top Gun, Risky Business is what made this guy famous. Like Risky Business made such a difference. That film was massive. So,
and you have your weekly show, your Talk Hard. Is that on Tuesdays or Monday?
Tuesday nights, 5:30 to 7 Eastern time. We talk hard. We pick something to blast around a little bit.
They are a lot of fun.
This week we're doing martial arts. We're talking about Enter the Dragon and Kill Bill are kind of our focus movies, but it'll be more like the death of martial arts. Like, we don't have martial arts movies anymore, guys. We have these choreographed John Wick films in that style. But Enter the Dragon is just a classic. This is where Bruce Lee was introduced basically to America's audience 50 years ago. Kill Bill is probably one of the last big box office type martial arts films. But yeah, They Live was one we did here recently. We've done several Carpenter films. We do all those kinds of things. So yeah, Talk Hard's a blast. Saturday morning cartoons is a big deal. You were part of my Saturday morning cartoon reminiscent a little bit. So
yep. If you are a fan of Saturday morning cartoons and you remember those from back in the day, Pops has a great little segment or a little series on those, and you're currently reviewing still Batman the Animated Series.
Yep.
You're doing
X-Men Animated Series at 9 a.m. Eastern. So I drop stuff. I premiere them I mean, I schedule them so that they're there when you get up. So whether you're Eastern time or Pacific time, it's pretty early. So 9 a.m. Eastern, 9:30 Eastern. So it's X-Men and then Batman. And then what's happening in between is I get people like this wonderful guy, get a few minutes of his time. I start asking about memories, things, that kind of favorites, and I piece that together. I throw that in. And all that's happened is people want more and more and more. So I don't know, guys. You're gonna have to figure out how to finance this so I can do more and more and more. Because I'm game if y'all are game, but I have to pay the mortgage according to Mrs. Pops. I mean, she's got to be happy, guys. I know what to tell you.
Hey, yeah, you got to keep her happy. Otherwise, it's gonna be a rough
I'll do
day.
GI Joe, but y'all got to pay the mortgage. That's what I'm saying. I mean, you want me to do real Ghostbusters? Just it's a mortgage payment, and I'm good.
Oh man, I wonder. I gotta look it up, see where that's streaming. Where that's
I found it somewhere.
It's probably Tubi or something. Maybe I don't know.
Did I message you about one of those? I think I messaged you about one of those.
Yes,
anyway.
It was. I forgot which one it was.
Was it Extreme Ghostbusters that was on there? Something like that was.
Yeah, it was one of those.
But Men in Black's really hard to find. Men in Black was like
Crypt Keepers.
Yeah, Tales of Crypt Keepers. Yeah. That was.
Oh man, I remember that show. I actually been wanting to get back into watch because I haven't watched it in forever, and I honestly didn't watch it that much as a kid. Was the Superman animated series? I never really watched it that much. I was always just drawn more to
really
Batman. It is. I watched a couple of them, and man, just going back down that rabbit hole of them.
And you're reminding me on my list because it never makes the top of my list because I always have stuff that gets ahead of it. I have on my list to do a little Justice League video, the animated Justice League. I watched it with the grandkids. We did the 3-part, the episodes 1, 2, and 3, because they asked who Martian Manhunter was.
Yeah.
And I was so impressed by it. Like, it would be such an easy movie to adapt into a feature film because it does all the things you want it to do about bringing the Justice League together, introducing all their powers, the way they interact with each other. You understand who the comic relief's going to be and who the serious guy's going to be. And then we, fast forward several weeks, still no video from Pops. Now we watch the Atlantean War one, where they get into Aquaman, where he cuts his arm off.
Yep.
And I'm like, again, the material for a feature film is right there for these people, and they just refuse to do it. So,
no.
Gap is bringing me up about softball. So I'll let you finish your thought before we get to that.
No, well, I was just going to say your Talk Hard, the last two that I listened to, They Live was a very good one that you guys talked about. It was, probably about 2 weeks ago now. And that's fitting for the times right now, guys. So if you've never seen They Live, I would definitely recommend it. Rowdy Piper, awesome. And and then you guys just did Mortal Kombat. Did it age well? Which a freaking I listened to a little bit. I didn't get to finish all of it. What was the consensus? Did it age well or not? In your opinion, not the consensus.
I think if you're a fan of the game and you're a fan of the movie, like originally. You're okay with it. But I think if you're like me, where you weren't really into it and you didn't really connect to it that much, you're like, it just keeps getting worse because you don't really have that affinity that kind of like pulls you over the line. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Because it's just not a very good film. There's a lot of mess with it, a lot of problems with it. It's very superficial. So that kind of thing. So, yeah, Gap asked about Return of the Jedi because they're going to put that back in theaters. I'm not going to be able to make it to go see it in a theater. But on the 25th of May, which is the day I consider to be Star Wars Day, that's the anniversary of New Hope, the anniversary of Return of the Jedi, Star Wars Day. We did it last year. I did a special stream with Mags, but I already scheduled. We're going to do a stream. There definitely will be a stream on the 25th. I don't have the times yet. I've definitely got Darth Arlena and Daryl the Derelict coming over from VacTube.
Awesome.
Trying to get Arwen to come in, trying to get Mags to come in. I'm going to reach out to X-Wing, maybe get Loki on. Really try to blow up this Star Wars thing. I thought about streaming for 5 hours or something, like really trying to do some real content, some real what they should be doing to pay homage to stuff. Not for, yes, it would. I would basically go, all right, Matt, you're going to have to hold my stream down for a minute because I got to go eat something. But it's worth doing if we could pay proper tribute to the things we love.
No, I 100% agree. And yeah, that sounds like a pretty good lineup of people, especially the ones that you already have confirmed. Hopefully you can get some more of those YouTubers on there because that's a good time and it's a good movie. All right, so I ask a lot of people this. Do you prefer the special editions or the originals? I personally grew up on the originals. I'm not a big fan of the special edition added things, but how do you feel about that?
I mean, obviously I prefer the originals. If I pick, I just go with wherever we're at in that moment. So
Mhm.
because Star Wars has put such a bad taste in my mouth, only like once a year do I watch the original 6 films.
Yep.
Um, I've been watching pieces of them with the grandkids. They're not into Star Wars yet.
Mhm.
They're into like the pod race scene,
Yeah.
Luke versus Vader scene, the Sarlacc pit scene. The girls like Ewoks. Like so they're into pieces, but they're not watching whole movies of Star Wars and stuff yet. So
Yeah.
there you go.
They're still, yep, still just picking and getting their hands dirty into it. So, well, Pops, do you have anything else to plug coming up? I'm sure you are a scheduled man and have a lot of things. So, what else do you have coming on besides Star Wars stream on the 25th?
Well, everything has a day, right? So for me,
Mhm.
Tuesdays talk hard at night. Wednesday is comic book day. So we usually I have a comic book talk that's at 10:15 in the mornings, and that premieres. And then there's comic book reviews are mostly on Wednesday. Throwback Thursday, there's at least one video. Saturday morning cartoons, and Sunday is What's Your Story. Everything else is usually the fill-in catch-up stuff where it be news, reviews. You know, the problem is with like pinning down themes for those days just makes me have to do more work because
Yep.
it's like, what if I don't have something that falls in place? But I tend to do different type of things, stuff like that. As far as extra streams, I really have kind of cut back on doing a lot of stream because it's hard enough to do what I have, and I really don't feel like I ever give any of my members enough time with just me. So I'm trying to make sure that I do a little bit of that. And I have like a week off coming up in May because Mrs. Pops and I are celebrating an anniversary. So
Congrats.
there's a thank you. So there's some limitations there. But yeah, I love doing this so much. That I don't even think of it as work. It's more like just checking boxes. You know, do I have the Batman video done yet? Okay.
Yeah.
Do I have the X-Men video done yet? What's your story? I got this week. Okay, where am I at? Let's get so-and-so lined up. That's kind of how everything sort of operates for me. And you know that because we scheduled this, 3 or 4 weeks ago?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's easier for me to do that than it would be to try to fit things in last minute. Yeah.
Absolutely. No, I understand. And like I said, always a pleasure having you on. And again, for anyone who's here now that is not subscribed or listening on the playback, subscribe to Pops. It's a great channel. He touches on if you like my stuff and we're talking about the current day madness of things. The good thing about Pops' channel too is that he reminds us of the stuff was worthwhile than even back in the day, the things that we loved and that, why we love movies and why we're nerds about, Ghostbusters or Star Wars, or like, that's just the joy of it all, where this all originally came from, instead of just being tainted on all the kind of the bad stuff, but that about wraps it up for us, Pops. Like I said, I think unless you have anything else to cover, we're kind of at that mark. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate your madness for gifting subscribers, you
Oh,
maniac.
man.
I
Let's do it. Let's go.
appreciate it.
Let's keep rocking and rolling with members and support each other. Whatever you guys can do, we appreciate it as a creator to help keep moving things forward for us, because that's, I can tell you Matt's just exactly like he is on stream. He is off camera. We talk on the phone, and we're just dudes that love this kind of stuff. And I'm privileged and honored to call him my friend and be able to spend time with him and you guys doing this. So that's it, man. This is it, man. This is what it's all about for me. I love doing this.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And like I said, as Pops just said too, for all you members and subscribers and viewers, even for those just for you being here, supporting the channel, just watching, never thought we'd get to, at least I didn't think I'd get to 10 subscribers, let alone where we're at now, or even have members. That's insane. So again, without you all, this is what makes it fun and worth it. So appreciate you all. Pops, as always, my friend, thank you for being here and making such a great conversation. Have to have you on soon again. And
Yes,
yeah, and I'll let everyone go. Have a good rest of your week. Have a good weekend, and then we will talk very, very soon. So you all take care, and we'll catch you all later.